We are halfway through Season 2 of The Wheel of Time, and I want to do a little temperature check. This is my Wheel of Time check-in and review with show spoilers through Season 2, Episode 4. I'll talk about the highs, the lows, and what I'm hoping for from the rest of the season as a Wheel of Time book diehard. By the way, hi, I'm Kritter XD. If you like what you see here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and hit the bell for notifications for when I post new content and go live. Let's get into it. There are a couple of standout highs for me this season, and they just so happen to come from two of my favorite episodes. Nynaeve's Accepted Test pulled episode number 3 into my number 1 spot so far. I've only cried once this season, and it was alongside Nynaeve after she lost her entire life by stepping back through that arch in her third test into the White Tower. They did change the tests a bit from the books. There was a Two Rivers arc, though it was slightly different. There was no Forsaken scene, but we did get Nynaeve's tragic backstory, which I think was beneficial for us and for non-book readers to get to know more about her as a character. And the third arch was somehow even more heartbreaking than it was in the books. Overall, the Accepted Test was executed super well, from the insanely book-accurate beginning to the highly emotional transitions to the grand finale. And in the end, Zoe Robbins' performance was devastating. I felt her sobs in my chest. My second favorite moment from this season happened in episode 4, and yes, I am talking about Moiraine's John Wick moment. As a fan of the books, I love that the writers can still absolutely shock me. They've done it twice so far this season. We'll talk about the other time later. I was so focused on whether Lanfear was going to reveal her true self, maybe removing a mask of mirrors to show her actual face, or bonding Rand, or doing some other thing that would have been equally as devastating. And then Moiraine stabbed her through the chest and slit her throat out of nowhere. And then she wasn't even dead. Had this happened in the books, she would have been very much dead. So this scene left book readers, at least myself, wondering if Forsaken have been leveled up in the show, or if the concept of rebirth for them that exists in the books has been changed into regeneration. Either way, I'm kind of into it, especially if it means we won't be swapping actors in and out for the same roles. That, I think, could be extra confusing for non-book readers, and even book readers, there'll be some kind of a transition there. Regardless, this episode, episode 4, starting with the simultaneously aesthetically pleasing and horrific release of Lanfear to her intense reveal that took an insanely unexpected turn, was my second favorite so far. Thanks also to another one of my highs this season, Perrin and Elias. Yes, my inner wolf girl is showing. As a huge fan of the Wheel of Time books, I love it when they give us situations that are book accurate. And Perrin and Elias's exchange in episode 4 was just that. Elias and Perrin and Hopper vibing in the woods and talking about what it means to be a wolf brother was so just incredibly heartwarming and fun to watch. Frankly, my face hurt from smiling by the end of it. I am also a huge fan of how they decided to depict wolfy communication. Using visions a lot like how I pictured from the books was the right call. We did not need dog speak. We did not need voice actor for Hopper. I also just love to see Perrin come into his own a bit. And I appreciated the fact that Perrin and Hopper being able to bond over their lost mates gives an extra layer of meaning to Perrin having a wife that just got killed off in episode 1 when he didn't have a wife in the books. It gives it a little more purpose while still being fridging. Obviously, that would not have been my preference. Did I mention that I love Gary Beadle's take on Elias? How he looks, how he talks, everything. Because I do. Now, even though this next high isn't a specific moment in any one episode, I do think it is definitely worth mentioning. I was a little worried about that transition between Barney Harris's Matt and Donal Finn's Matt. Turns out my fears were completely unfounded. Everything I've seen from Donal so far has been quintessential and delightful Matt, and I could not be happier with this recasting. Along those same lines, I want to give a major shout out to Kiara Coveney, who is our new Elaine. Her Elaine has been pitch perfect. Almost every scene she's in, she steals it, taking responsibility for her maids being in the tower, somehow being a brewmaster, calling Egwene out on her jealousy, and following Nynaeve and Egwene to obviously see why they were leaving the tower. All of this has been a delight. My final highest high is just a person, and it's Kate Fleetwood, who plays Leandrin in the Wheel of Time show. As a book reader, I expected Leandrin to be just another mustache-twirling villain. Instead, we see this version of Leandrin: sympathetic, manipulative, political, stylish, focused, dangerous. She even had book readers, at least me, wondering if she was legitimately trying to recruit Nynaeve rather than just get rid of her like she did in the books. Or at least tried to in the books. While I was at first a little perplexed by the sun reveal, thinking we could have used that screen time on someone more important or central to the plot, it had a nice payoff when she was able to commiserate with Nynaeve about the loss of her daughter. And it also may end up being tied to why Leandrin went over to the dark side in the first place, giving her some depth, which I'm totally into. I'm frankly looking for an Emmy nomination for Kate Fleetwood, and if it doesn't happen, we riot. Now, those are my highest highs. There are a lot of things that I enjoyed that I haven't mentioned, or that I absolutely hated but also loved because they added stakes and drama, and they worked in context. Yes, I'm talking about Uno's death if that wasn't obvious. Yes, this was the other OMG holy F WTF moment that I did not expect, that I think works in the context of the show, but for book readers, the loss of Uno made this that I could not put it in the highest of highs section because I hate that Uno is gone, and I will demand that he come back in some capacity at some point because I need him to. I understand why they did it, to up the stakes, but that doesn't mean that I liked it. I really like the introduction of Varen and Adelius adding some real levity to an otherwise very angsty plot. And Varen so far with her quiet wisdom is just like, oh, I can't wait to see more from her. Meeting Beth Domon and getting that negotiation scene with Moiraine was just delightful. You know, the sea folk are good at the game, but the Aes Sedai invented it. Like, hell yeah. That was probably, some of these are probably extra delightful because I am a fan of the book and I've been looking for these characters in these situations. I really like the fight with the Fades at the end of episode 1 and with the Shan at the end of episode 2, especially Loyal going full Hulk mode. If I was more of a battle girly, those might have been in my highest highs, but I'm more of a character girly, so more character stuff was in my highest highs. Because I'm a character girly, I also really love the House Damodred drama. Lady Anvir is a scene stealer, especially because those scenes really emphasized how weird it would be to be an Aes Sedai, kind of like watching people age past you while you kind of stay the same age. It also gave us a taste of the rich history at play in the Wheel of Time series. In this case, King Layman, Moraine's uncle, starting the Aiel War, temporarily ruining House Damodred. I also really enjoyed the one power lesson in episode 1. It introduced colored weaves, explained the magic system in more detail, and reminded us how gosh darn stubborn Two Rivers folk are. Speaking of the White Tower, let's talk about my lows this season. While I've immensely enjoyed some of Alana's scenes, she's definitely provided a fair amount of comedic relief. I can't help but think her and her warders have taken up a lot of screen time that could have been spent on characters the audience should be more invested in, like Matt. Their entire arc in episode 4, trying to help Lan through the breaking of his bond with Moiraine that maybe or maybe not is even broken in the first place, felt like filler, since we already knew that Lan was struggling with that relationship. All of that screen time could have been boiled down to Lan reading the prophecy about Lanfear, showing it to Alana and her warders, and them heading off to help Moiraine, since they obviously wouldn't want her to fight Lanfear alone, assuming that's where they're headed next. Speaking of Lan, Moiraine pushing him away has been pretty frustrating to watch. I know she's in a dark place and probably wants what's best for him, but I just think the way she treated him in the first couple episodes was downright disrespectful. And I know it was intentional, but this is Lan Mandragoran, Lord of the Seven Towers. Just tell it to him like it is instead of playing mind games with him. Sorry, this is like the first time I feel like the characters have been something that I didn't quite recognize from the books, and so it's the most frustrating plot for me. And finally, though I already alluded to this, my other lowest low has been the lack of screen time for my best boy, Matt. I love what Donal is doing with the character. I just want Matt to have more to do in the show. I've just got my fingers and toes crossed that the second half of the season will heavily feature our favorite scamp. And if it doesn't, it'll be pretty disappointing. So finally, what do I want to see for the rest of the season? Well, first and foremost, I want us to get back on track for the end of the Great Hunt. I need to see everyone end up in Falm. It looks like we're going to be getting an introduction to Aviendha soon, and I love the Aiel, so I can't wait for that. Want to see some sick Aiel fight sequences. But mainly, I need Rand and Matt and Egwene and Nynaeve and probably Min and definitely Elaine and maybe Perrin to all get to Falm. I've also been waiting for Lan to train Rand in the sword this whole time. I want to see Lan and Rand bond. I think that would really help Lan's character in the show really give us an idea of who he is as a person outside of the context of Moiraine and Nynaeve, so that would bring me a lot of joy. Not to mention sword fighting is kind of a thing for Rand, and so if he doesn't really do any of it ever, then it's gonna be a little weird. I think Rand spent more time in Carrion than I expected, not doing what I expected, and so now I need his arc to kind of pick up. I need him to stop being the lovesick puppy who's got a side job and start being the Dragon Reborn. Some of those prophecies that Varen mentioned also, I'd love to see some of those come into fruition this season. Perrin, I want more wolfiness. I would love to see the Wolf Dream, though that might be a little premature. And mainly, I just want the focus to narrow. I want the focus to narrow on to the Emonsfield 5 and Moiraine and Lan, and I want the drama between Moiraine and Lan to end so they can get back to their normal selves. So far, I have had a blast watching season 2. I think the quality is a step up. I love all the visuals. It's absolutely stunning. I love the music. The acting has been just unmatched, like amazing. And I think the drama, it's been high, and I live for the drama. I don't really do number rankings. Let's just say season 2 thus far has 2 thumbs up for me, with a few minor complaints that I think are definitely fixable by the end of the season, and I've got my fingers and toes crossed that they will be fixed. What's been your favorite and least favorite moment this season? Or your favorite and least favorite aspect of this season? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. If you want more of my takes on the Wheel of Time show aside from my reactions, which I do after every episode, you can tune into the Wheel and Chill show on this channel at 7:30 p.m. Central Time every Monday. If you had fun here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. And if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a member on YouTube or a patron on Patreon. I want to say thank you so much to my generous patrons and members. Your support is incredibly motivating. That's going to be it for me today. I hope you all have an amazing day or night or whatever morning, I don't know. Until next time, bye!